those, please make sure we're passing them forward. Next we have Jack Shaner of the Ohio Environmental Council. He is the Deputy Director and Senior Director of Legislative and Public Affairs. Jack?
Thank you, Councilman. Good evening, everybody. Good to be here in Youngstown, Ohio. With the Ohio Environmental Council, we are not a government agency, although our name sounds like it. We are a nonprofit research and environmental advocacy organization. We have several thousand individual citizen members and more than 100 statewide and individual community group members. We're funded by primarily foundations, foundation grants, and individual contributions. I want to thank committee members for putting this hearing on. Senator Giovanni, your leadership, Representative Hagan. I see we have Minority Leader Rick Navarro, Representative Ron Gerberry. I saw Representative Representative O'Brien and Representative Letson here earlier. So very much appreciate the members of General Assembly that have taken time to join us this evening. Now, like Bill, I do not have a PowerPoint. Reminds me, President Eisenhower once said, something like, I can think of nothing more miserable for the American people than to come home and to see my face on their TV screen every night. So I hope, maybe it's a relief, maybe not, that I don't have a PowerPoint. I'll try to get to the point here, looking at the clock here. Hey, let's all acknowledge, first of all, Bill may be the only one tonight that owns oil and gas wells, maybe not. I'm guessing most of us do not. But let's acknowledge, yes, we all got here tonight, or most of us got here tonight using oil. Most of us will heat our house tonight using natural gas. The question is not, I submit, should we have oil and gas? Do we derive benefits from oil and gas? Clearly we do. Clearly it's a great convenience. The question is, though, are we adequately regulating, overseeing, researching, knowing about, and controlling an industry that does have risks? I was never a very good speller, Bill, but I can tell you, I do take it personally when the people of Youngstown, Ohio have a 4.0 magnitude earthquake. And you're not alone in your concerns. We can talk about Al Gore, we can talk about environmental groups. Well, let's put them on the side for a moment. Let's talk about the United States Department of Energy. Not exactly a left-wing entity. What have they had to say? Well, they impaneled a special subcommittee to help advise the Energy Secretary on the safe development of shale gas and shale oil. And hopefully that's what we are all striving for, is the safe and responsible development of this resource and the safe and responsible disposal and containment of waste materials. Now, let's be fair. The report acknowledged, yes, there are many very good benefits from oil and gas. I think most of us would acknowledge that. And the report did encourage the safe, responsible development of those resources. But listen to this. The report also, the bulk of the report is about, well, what should we do? How should we safely control this, like we do with everything else in life? Industry is not new in Ohio and America. We have automobiles. Automobiles, one of the top causes of death and injury. Have we banned automobiles? No. But what have we done? Sometimes against the wishes of the manufacturers, we have increased the standards, the safety equipment on those motor vehicles. We have engineered safer highways, and we have not stopped just because we put seatbelts in. It is continuous. And so what did the report to the director, to the Secretary of the Department of Energy have to say? It had to say, in part, intensive shale gas development can potentially have serious impacts on public health, the environment, and quality of life, even when individual operators conduct their activities in ways that meet and exceed regulatory requirements. Also, said there is a real risk of serious environmental consequences and a loss of public confidence that could delay or stop this activity. Now, let's be fair, too. The report was taking a broad snapshot of all of the United States. It wasn't singling out Ohio in any way, shape, or form. This is general to the United States. Finally, the report makes a series of 20 recommendations. The report is mostly on the production side, actually the drilling to produce the oil and gas, but it did have some things to say about the safe containment of the waste material, which is what we're here talking about tonight. Injection wells injecting the waste materials. And it did reference this, stating environmental issues need to be addressed now, especially in terms of wastewater, which is what we're talking about, as well as air quality and community impact. Now, the industry is correct that when they drill a well, only a tiny portion of the materials used to drill are chemicals. There are hundreds of chemicals. Many of them are benign, but several of them are very toxic. Some of them can cause cancer. Now, true, it is a tiny percent by volume, but when you're talking about millions of gallons per well and billions of gallons in all the wells being produced, now you're starting to accumulate a number of significant amounts of hazardous chemicals. So in Ohio and many other states, as you've been hearing, what do we do about it? Well, we inject it deep underground. And if all goes well, if we don't have an earthquake, if we don't have, put this by an excellent unknown fault zone, we don't have Big Bird, all is well. How many times have we heard from industry and from others, including regulators, well, if all goes well? Well, things didn't all go well on New Year's Eve, did they? Let's just go right to what are some recommendations? Most of the United States Department of Energy recommendations, again, regarded the production, the drilling to produce oil and gas. Most of them do not go specifically to the containment of the waste materials, the injection materials. That's what I want to talk about here. I want to identify 9 or 10 recommendations here tonight. And we think this is very important to reform Ohio law. You know, it's very rare. The DNR official talked about the law in 1985. Before then, it was legal, incredibly, to, I believe, dispose of materials in open pits. Correct me if I'm wrong. That, give the legislature credit. I think it was Bob Hagan's father was one of the prime sponsors and movers, at least. I don't know if this will sound familiar, but some people say agitating, I say took leadership, pushing to make a stronger law down there to outlaw that. And that's good. You no longer just dispose of it on the open ground. That's good. That's called progress. But we were told, you know, before that time, don't worry about it by some people. We were told, don't worry about it. It couldn't happen until the Bainbridge Township incident up in Geauga County, where a house was literally rocked from its foundation. So we had Senate Bill 165, a good law. It's made a lot of good changes. Not a perfect law. You never get it perfect. We're human beings. And now we have Youngstown, Ohio. It never happened, or not likely to happen. Well, it happened. And so another rare opportunity. It's disappointing. Mankind, we have to have an incident, an event, something bad to happen. The flip side, you know, the old Chinese character for emergency also means, or crisis also means opportunity. So now we have a rare opportunity. Here are some reforms I humbly recommend the Ohio General Assembly, the Ohio Department of Natural Resources consider. Let me see if I can tick through some of these. First of all, we believe the public has a fundamental right to know anytime industry proposes to release or contain or dispose of materials, dangerous materials, that I believe industry absolutely wants to safely contain those. I don't think industry intentionally wants to harm anybody at all. Well, hopefully we'll have the same goal here. But we believe the public should have a fundamental right to know about that. Well, guess what? As we read Ohio law, and I hope I am wrong, it is with respect to injection wells, these Class 2 injection wells, as we read the Ohio Revised Code and the Ohio Administrative Code specifically, we find a requirement for only one notice, one time, in a newspaper.